Honourable members, may I take this opportunity to thank all of you for debating this bill with decorum.
Now, the floor of Parliament was the scene of fierce political swordplay as the key details of the contentious Finance Bill 2023 came under discussion. The battle lines of debate had been clearly laid out as all sides were clear on their positions, and it was a Kenya Kwanza versus Azimio affair as both ranks clashed on two major details, the housing levy and the VAT levy on petroleum products. TV47's William Mwege was our reporter on that beat and tells us more.
Those leaning towards the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I want to...
The National Assembly Finance Committee Chairperson Kuria Kimani defended the bill, pointing out that some of the touchy clauses of the bill have been amended, taking into consideration appeals by Kenyans. Among them, the proposed housing levy, which had been reduced from 3 to 1.5%.
We listened to the view of these Kenyans, and we propose a reduction in the housing fund contribution from 3% employer and 3% employee to 1.5% employee contribution and 1.5% employer contribution, Mr. Speaker.
Opposing the bill, MPs from the Azimio political camp faulted Kenya Kwanza for not considering public opinion on the housing levy, arguing that housing agenda is not a priority for majority of Kenyans who are more concerned with putting food on their tables than to have homes.
Mr. Speaker, Kenyans are asking themselves, do we put food on the table for our children? Or do we pay fees? Do we buy clothes? Everything is difficult. Life is difficult. Mr. Speaker, that is one of the reasons why you saw our team of Azimio going to the streets. Hawa wabunge tuwacheni ubinafsi. Tuwacheni ubinafsi kwa mara ya kwanza. Tufikirie hawa wananchi. Ni lazima tujinyime, ni lazima tujiadhibu ili tuweze kukomboa hawa wa Kenya.
Mimi sahihi, Bwana Spika, unajua nimechukua mkopo wa nyumba na ninakatiwa katika mshahara wangu. Hii nyumba inalazimishwa kulala ni nyumba gani? Hii ingekuwa inakatiwa kwa hiari. Yule ambaye anataka akatiwe.
The sensitive increased tax on VAT on petroleum products from 8% to 16% was another hard-fought position on the floor of Parliament. Disagreement on the same was plentiful.
Increasing the fuel levy to 16%, it means the cost of production is going to be high. The cost of transportation is going to be high. It will also affect agriculture because agriculture depends on machinery and the machinery also depends on diesel and petrol power. Honorable Speaker.
Any variation on the revenue side has to have a corresponding effect on the expenditure side. Honorable Speaker, out of the 3.679 trillion Kenya shillings, we are spending the same taxes we are collecting, the same revenue we are collecting through the finance side of the budget.
The Azimio coalition maintained on their push to have the proposed bill withdrawn completely and a new bill that is friendly to the common mwananchi be proposed. Kenya Kwanza could hear none of it, sticking to the through guidance on the basis that majority of the bill's clauses are pro-mwananchi.
Mr. Speaker, we must struggle to make sure whatever our people are waiting for, we look for it, and it can only come from the taxation. And we are taxing those who are employed. We are taxing those who are in business. We are taxing those who have.
How does a government that says we are short of money explain why you must create offices that we do not need? You do not need the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. You do not need all the 24 cabinet offices. The Constitution allows you a minimum of 14. You do not need over 51 principal secretaries. You do not need over 50 CSS, and all these are taking public money.
The Finance Bill 2023, which was amended by the National Assembly Finance and Planning Committee tabled on Tuesday, seeks to raise 311 billion shillings, which is 100 billion shillings higher than the initial bill. President William Ruto will assent to the bill if it manages to weather the fierce barrage of debate in Parliament. Mwege William, TV47.
Well, moving on, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya leaders have threatened to take action if the Finance Bill 2023 is passed by the National Assembly. The leaders say that the bill contains sections of clauses that will make life unbearable for Kenyans economically. they have threatened action remains unspecified at this point. At the same time, a section of Kenyans have also petitioned Parliament against the passage of the bill. Mike Kagwong with more.
As debate on the finance bill of 2023 continues in the National Assembly, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga has threatened to take action if the bill sails through. Speaking at Toy Market after his visit to area residents, Odinga maintained his opposition against the bill, asking his Azimio members of parliament to shut down the contentious bill.
Wiki ijayo watapitisha hiyo finance bill, sio? Watapitisha, sivyo? Hiyo itakuwa ni parapanda. Mwanzo mtakuwa mko tayari. Jamaa alikuwa naonya ati hakuna maandamano imekubaliwa, si bwana Kithure Kindiki. Bwana Kindiki, rudi kwa shule.
After a meeting that brought together Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua, among other leaders in Nairobi, former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya criticized the Kenya Kwanza government over its devolution record, asserting that the government appears to grow the power of the national government at the expense of the counties.
As a party, we believe Kenyans will thrive when we cut, not when we increase taxes. We believe the country will thrive when we moderate our expenditure. This bill remains expenditures and proposes to spend what we don't have.
And after this budget, which is clearly anti-people, Azimio will be busy taking the next steps.
This comes as a section of Kenyans petitioned Parliament against passing off the bill in the August House. Led by Operation Linda Ugatuzi lobby group leader Fred Ogola, they first delivered the petition at Milimani Law Courts before presenting it before the National Assembly.
The priority of Kenyans is not this identity at the moment, especially a solution which we already have. It is needless, it's uncalled for, it brings national security because our data will be sitting in Pakistan.
Saboti MP Caleb Amisi and his Yatta counterpart Robert Mbowe received the petition at the Parliament.
So for us to receive petitions, and this is just an avalanche of many petitions that we've received in regard to this finance bill. And we want to thank Kenyans and especially the civil societies for their commitment to participate in our democratic process.
We can't allow duplication of resources and the wastages. So as a member of parliament, I really applaud you for this bold step. We'll step forward and completely correct the government.
All eyes now shifts to National Assembly legislators to see if they will pass the finance bill in its totality or they will amend the contentious clauses as petitioned by a section of Kenyans. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, moving on, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers is concerned that the allocation given to the health sector in this year's budget estimates is insufficient. The union remains troubled that this year's allocation in the budget estimate is less than last year's allocation, which the union fears will affect the key needs such as research and the employment of new personnel. Even so, the health sector remains among the three key sectors that are set to receive the biggest allocations in the 2023-2024 budget estimates.
The education, infrastructure and health sectors are among the biggest beneficiaries of the 2023-2024 budget set to be read tomorrow. This despite the health sector receiving a 5 billion shillings less allocation as compared to last year. This shortfall is what Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Chair Peterson Washira says will affect the already struggling sector, with areas such as research and capacity building having their allocations redirected to more pressing issues.
When you cut down the budget, when it comes to the ministry looks at what is emergency and what is not. So some of the things we are talking about, like employment of more health workers, probably will be cut, the budget will be cut. Research will be, of course, one of the items that the ministry will, of course, be cutting down. And so, generally, when we cut down on some aspects of health, then that means that it will not be able to work efficiently and effectively.
To start with, this year's allocation stands at 141 billion shillings. The medical service has been allocated 116.6 billion shillings. The National Referral and Specialized Services will receive 63.5 billion shillings. The Curative and Reproductive Health Service will receive 21 billion shillings, and Health Research and Innovation will receive 4.9 billion shillings. Public Health has been allocated 24.6 billion shillings. Health Resource Development and Innovation will receive 15 billion shillings. Preventative and Promotive Health Service 7.3 billion shillings, and Health Policy Standards and Regulations 1.8 billion shillings.
National government had to employ about 9,000 during COVID under the UHC contracts and deploy to the counties, because legally the counties are unable because of the laws that we have put in place. So the only way we can get out of this is removing health workers from recurrent budget into development budget. And that is what happens in the developed countries, because health is an enabler of development. Health is not a liability.
It is not all doom and gloom, as Clinical Officers Union believe the allocation of funds to new additions in the sector, such as the Kenya Human Resource Advisory Council, is a move towards the right direction.
Now, I think what we should do, we should honor our commitments. One is that we should ensure our budgetary allocation meets our commitment to the Abuja Declaration of 15% of the budgetary allocation. If then we do that, we won't have a problem implementing the commitment of employing 12,000 healthcare workers annually. We'll have enough money. We will not have a problem of ensuring that we take our people for trainings. So actually, the only way forward is more money.
Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Away from that now, it will be a mega relief to Kenyans after the Energy and Regulatory Authority, EPRA, reduced the price of the precious commodity, that is super petrol, diesel and kerosene. The changes, according to EPRA, super petrol has been reduced by 0.66 shillings, diesel by 1 shilling and 12 cents, and kerosene by 35 cents, effective 15th of June to 14th of July. Super petrol will now retail at 182.04 cents, while diesel will retail at 167.28 cents, while kerosene will be at 121.13 cents. Now, the prices are inclusive of the 8% value-added tax in line with the provisions of the Finance Act 2018. The new price change comes in the middle of the government's efforts to impose at least 16% value-added tax on petroleum in a bid to raise more revenue for the government. Now, former DPP Nurdin Haji is now the Director General for the National Intelligence Service. He was sworn early Wednesday at a ceremony held at State House, presided over by President William Ruto. While congratulating him on his appointment, the President called upon him to soberly steer the intelligence service at a time the country is facing unique challenges. Haji is making a return to the National Intelligence Service after having served as a Deputy Director General in the Counterintelligence Department.
I, Nurdin Mohammed Haji.
1 month after his nomination by President William Ruto, Nurdin Haji now sits at the helm of the National Intelligence Service as its Director General. His hearing is taking place on Wednesday morning at State House in a ceremony presided over by President William Ruto after approval from Parliament on Tuesday.
That I will diligently serve the people of the Republic of Kenya without fear, favor, bias, affection, or ill will.
Haji is taking over from the retired Major General Wachira Kameru, who has held the office for the last 8 years. Mr. Haji is making a return to the National Intelligence Service after having served as a Deputy Director General in the Counterintelligence Department. The spy master-in-chief's intro is full. The country is coming to terms with the Shakahola massacre. Kenyans expecting a report from the task force committee probing the tragedy. Mr. Haji pledging during his vetting to cast the intelligence net wider to cover extremism.
The paradigm shift that has to come is that extremism can come from anybody, whether they be Muslims, Christians, or Hindus. And the posture would be that we will have to deal with them.
Further, Haji vowed to refine NIS recruitment, training and operations institution. His tenure begins with a strong vote of confidence from the president.
Congratulations on this very well-merited appointment into the office of the Director General of a very important arm of the security agencies of the Republic of Kenya. I have full confidence that with the experience that you have gathered over the years, having worked in the intelligence service for many years and having served in other senior government positions, including that of the DPP, I am confident that you have assembled the requisite knowledge, understanding.
The president also had some advice for newly appointed heads of public institutions.
I am confident that all the officers we have in office have gone through the rigors of interview, they have been assessed, and they have been found worthy of the offices that we all occupy, and we must give a good account of the responsibilities and the duties that have been assigned to us by the offices that we hold.
Gideon Yori, TV47.
It is a big blow to Pastor Mackenzie and his co-accused after 2 lawyers on their defense team withdrew from representing them, citing frustrations from the state. Furthermore, it is now revealed that the suspect's clearly weak appearance was due to a hunger strike that started on June 4th. A hunger strike that was triggered by what the suspects term as poor quality jail food. Here's more on the saga.
The suspects, who reportedly underwent a hunger strike since June 4th, could barely move in their appearance before the Shanzu Law Court's principal magistrate Yusuf Shikanda. Their appearance caused the judge to order the prison officials to ensure the suspects' health does not worsen on their watch.
I have observed that some of the respondents appear unwell and weak. It is not really clear why they are in that state. However, I direct that the respondents who are visibly weak and frail be escorted to hospital for examination and treatment.
For this reason, the principal magistrate Yusuf Shikanda on Wednesday was guided to extend the custodial period, directing that the suspects be detained at the Malindi prison and be subjected to medical care. The state had cited that the authorities would be compelled to force-feed the suspects to save their lives for effective justice delivery.
And I further direct that medical reports.
In addition, the prison will be required to submit medical reports in the next appearance over the respondent's health condition.
I believe I have spectated enough.
Another blow would hit Mackenzie and his co-accused when their pro bono lawyers George Kariuki and Elisha Komora wished to step down from being their legal representatives.
It's quite unfortunate. I started very well from where it started. But where we are heading to, Your Honor, it will reach an issue of having threats and everything and showing mighty and power, then we will not do justice. So, Your Honor, with those said, I pray be discharged. So unless the suspects themselves, they will want to look for me to continue representing them, and of course with their own reasons, then I will reconsider. But in the meantime,
They argued that they have faced challenges and frustrations from the state, thus making it difficult for them to deliver justice to their clients. Only lawyer Wycliffe Makasembo has agreed to represent the suspects.
My friends are running away because they feel the state and the court are now running the show. We have no say, we're just mere spectators. Application after application, everything they said, tukweni.
Earlier on, the defense team had pleaded with the court to give them additional 3 days to finish up replying affidavits of 17 respondents, stating that they had only managed to file only one following their said challenges. The court further guided that the state should accord the defense team the maximum support to process for applications. Paul Muniu, TV47, Mombasa.
Let's go back to our top story. Members of the National Assembly have started debating the 2023 Finance Bill in Parliament today. Fierce exchanges were witnessed on the floor of the House as Kenya Kwanza and Azimio MPs went head-to-head on the controversial proposed law that has been the subject of debate among Kenyans. What happens next after the bill is passed? Here's a breakdown of what to expect. A lot has been said about the 2023 Finance Bill. However, primarily, the bill seeks to amend various laws relating to taxes and duties with the goal of increasing government revenue from taxes collected. For a president who has been keen to avoid borrowing, taxes are the other way for government to raise revenue. The Finance Bill 2023 was formally tabled in Parliament on Tuesday as per the schedule of the National Assembly Finance and Planning Committee that concluded compiling its report in Naivasha. Top of the concessions made in the amended bill is the housing levy contribution by employers and employees that has been reduced from 3% to 1.5%, effective as soon as the President assents to the bill if it passes through Parliament.
What we've asked the housing department is, it's a global idea, but there are a few things that needs to be tightened up, and they have promised to come up with regulations that are going to be approved by Parliament. But as it stands, we are making it as simple as a 1.5% levy contribution by employer, by employee, and removing the cap.
Withholding tax for digital content creators has also been reduced from 15% to 5%. 20% VAT on gaming and betting has been reduced to 12.5%, while the mandatory 20% of the contested amount deposit to KRA for lodging tax appeal has been repealed. Tax rental income has also been reduced from 10 to 7.5%. The deadline for submitting withholding tax to KRA has also been extended to 5 working days from the previously proposed 24 hours. Income tax pay as you earn for employees earning between 500,000 shillings and 800,000 shillings has been reduced from 35 to 32%, as those earning more than 800,000 shillings will be subjected to 35% income tax. Electric cars, motor vehicles and solar batteries have been zero-rated. The corporate turnover tax has been lowered from a maximum threshold of 50 million shillings to 25 million shillings. However, the increased 16% VAT on petroleum products remained unchanged. Insurance compensation on taxable supplies is 16% VAT. The Finance Committee introduced 16% VAT on business transfers in order to recover 100 billion shillings lost through the reduction of housing levy.
So some of the other proposals that have been carried on the report that perhaps I haven't had a lot of conversation about them by Kenyans, is that there has been an ongoing conversation across the country on tea and coffee. Because what has been happening is that our farmers has been selling their coffee as raw and tea as raw, and they haven't really got a return on the investment. And I think even if you look at the seminar that we had, the coffee conference that we had the other day in Meru, we had every farmer talking about we want value for our coffee because our farmers are now uprooting their coffee and doing other things. And now we looked at the bill and wondered how then can we bring up something on the bill that would help incentivize or lead to more value for the farmers on this area of tea and coffee.
The amended Finance Bill 2023 seeks to raise 311 billion shillings, which is 100 billion shillings higher than the initial bill.
tomorrow we read the budget, and Tuesday next week we do a committee of the whole house. That's why we go voting clause by clause, and now put into that reading and to vote. So I'm hoping that by Tuesday next week we'll have completed the entire process. We're hoping we could do it today, but it's important that we give members as much opportunity as we can for them to contribute to all the matters that have been deliberated on this particular issue.
With the House Business Committee having subsequently approved the debate schedule of the bill on Wednesday, a showdown looms between the ruling Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja legislators who are opposed to the bill. A majority of members of parliament on Wednesday's sittings have already voted for the Finance Bill 2023 report. The effects of the bill are expected to be felt in the new financial year 2023-2024, which begins in July 2023. According to lawyer Ishmael Nyaribo, all provisions in the new bill will take effect according to the memorandum attached. However, it is expected that it will take effect as soon as President William Ruto appends his signature, making it law. The statutory notice states that the bill will take effect from 30th of June. Kenyans will start feeling the effects of the new proposals not too long from now, as they are set to take effect from the 1st of July this year. Now, still on that beat, tonight, Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo has poked holes on the legality of a few sections of the Finance Bill 2023. The senior counsel, while making his statements Wednesday, faulted the government for using the National Assembly as a backdoor to passing the housing levy without consulting the Senate. Stanley Nyaringita reports on a day the Azimio coalition has already set its eyes on the mercy of the judiciary as a hiccup to the ascension of the bill.
Can the bars be drawn? Order.
Days before the proposals in the Finance Bill 2023 take effect, the Azimio leadership has begun to flirt with the idea of taking a legal action should the Finance Bill be passed as is.
Otiende Amolo.
Wednesday, Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo has poked holes on the move to introduce the National Housing Development Fund in the National Assembly, which, according to the amendments made by the Finance Committee, chaired by Kimani Kuria, seek to have employers and employees contribute 1.5% each as a levy.
You must listen to us, because even if you use the majority to pass this, there's still the courts. And even if you deal with the courts, there's still the people who are sovereign. Two things. One, you cannot have a situation where you are bringing the housing tax here. I want to invite you to note, first of all, that under Schedule 6, the role of housing is for the counties, it's not for the national government. And I invite you to look at Clause 8D. The national government is only to do the housing policy. So when you are bringing the question of housing and you're introducing the tax, you're actually amending the constitution through the back door. And it also means then that this bill should go to the Senate, because the Senate must have a role in anything that affects the counties. And that is a point that you need to bear in mind. Lastly,
but the question is, when they tell us that they're rejecting the entire bill in entirety, where do they expect us to finance this budget from? Then they should stop queuing at cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries' offices asking for development money. Because we have decided, and the president has been on the forefront saying, and not even just the president from the forefront saying, the World Bank, the IMF have told us, you do not have any more legroom to borrow.
This even as the High Court has already received a petition from Busia Senator Okiya Mtata, who is challenging some sections of the bill. The senator wants the court to issue orders suspending the debate and also prohibit the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, from transmitting the bill to President William Ruto. Constitutional lawyer Alex Mola opines that if the bill is shot down by the court, the mover of the budget, who is President William Ruto, will have to seek alternative measures to finance his 3.6 trillion shillings budget.
But if the bill fails to pass, it means then that the mover of the budget will not be able to collect the revenue. And the effect is very simple. The government is going to shut, because we must have an avenue of collecting the revenue. But you have to understand that if the proposed amendments are not passed, it means that the previous one will still prevail.
At 31 minutes past the hour, time now for a very short break. Don't go away, we have much more lined up just for you.
For the biggest of guests, from politicians to entertainers to content creators to whichever kind of a person you want to think that you'd want to see on the show, this is the place to be. Dr. Funeke tonight.
Each and every Wednesday. My name is DJ Lizney, not your ordinary DJ.
And of course, they call me the eagle himself. Your host, Dr. Funeke, is my name. Of course, every Wednesday at 7:30. See you there and don't touch.
Make sure to join us.
Tell your landlord as well. Jua unalipia wa parent.
Sikose.
From politics, health, cooking, relationships, and entertainment, join Linda Alela every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Your health is not just about going to the hospital. Your health is about prevention, it's about what you eat, it's about where you live. For this reason, the Body Garage Show exists.
The part of the brain that deals with communication.
Called primary hypertension, which means that we don't find a reason for that.
Join me, Dr. Chepsi, every Thursday, 8 p.m.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Beyond the Limit. We have not even scratched the surface when it comes to knowledge about disability. Beyond the Limit with me, Zainab Mohammed, every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
Now, as the discussion of the Finance Bill 2023 went on in Parliament, Kenyans continued expressing mixed reactions in relation to the amendments on the bill. Some of the Kenyans we talked to have complained that the increment in taxes will affect their businesses tremendously. Joy Chemutai reports.
Maureen Wamunga is a fish dealer near Toy Market in Kibera constituency, Nairobi County. When we visit her shop, we find her going about her normal activities. However, Wamunga fears that the proposals in the 2023 financial bill to increase tax prices of fish from foreign countries will affect her business as she sources her fish from Uganda.
Mimi ni mfanya biashara ya samaki. Nimeifanya muda mrefu sana. Karibu kitu kama 30 years, 35 years. Juu nilianza kuifanya kama mui baada nafanya kazi. But tumeifanya hapo kitambo ilikuwa nzuri kidogo. Lakini hii wakati imekuwa ngumu sana. Sana zaidi. Juu samaki tukienda kuchukua tunaambiwa bei kitambo ilikuwa mzuri. Tulikuwa tunachukua individual. Samaki tulikuwa tunapimiwa na bei at least. Kufika saa hii kila size wanatuambia lazima ipimwe na bei yake. Juu wanasema wanachukua samaki through dollars. Wakichukua through dollars wanasema transport pia iko juu. Sasa bei ya samaki inabidi kila size wanatupimia na bei. Kuanzia 0.5 bei inaenda kitu kama 350, 0.6 inaenda na 370, 0.8 inaenda na kitu kama 400. Sasa najaribu kucalculate hata nikiuza haiuziki, najaribu kucompare haiendi. Saa zingine hata unaweza kaa hapa ukose hata lunch ya kukula. Juu ukikompare ulipe expenses, ulipe maji, ulipe karatasi, ulipe mwenye uko nayo mfanyakazi wako, inabidi unajibana juu haiwezekani. Sasa wakati huu imekuwa ngumu, si rahisi.
Nelson Mandela, a boda operator, also opposes the proposal to increase the fuel tax by 8%. According to him, this direction will affect his daily income, which he says is already struggling.
Mafuta mimi hutumia karibu 1,000 per day. Na kwa hii 1,000 unapata labda kwa siku umetengeneza kitu kama 1,500 na 1,500 ukisubtract 1,000 umebaki na punch. So uanga tunaenda tu loss. profit just in case upate biashara za kuenda tao, hapo unapata at least. Nani kuangukia tu, si ati ni kitu inakuanga. So hii proposal ya kuongeza mafuta sijui ni 8%. Naona itatuangaisha sana. Kaa hii ni karibu iliongezwa 3 bob ama 2 bob hapo. Na imetuangaisha hii design. Sembuse ile ya 8%.
As this bill continues to receive reactions, the Kenyans we talk to are calling on to legislators to make amendments which will be more favorable to the common mwananchi. Joy Chemutai, TV47.
Well, TV47 has journalists spread across the country and are keeping a close eye on the developing story, that is the finance bill and the budget estimates that are going to be read tomorrow. So keep it here. More than 1,500 traders lost property worth millions of shillings in merchandise and equipment in an early morning fire at the Mutindo Market in Buruburu area, Embakasi West constituency. Earlier today, Azimio leader Raila Odinga and other leaders visited Toy Market, which suffered the same fate with traders incurring losses, where the traders have voiced concerns over insecurity. They want the government to beef up security in market to prevent such incidents from reoccurring.
Early morning at the Mutindo Market. A huge inferno that rendered traders without a livelihood.
Hii investment nimefanya hapa ni 300,000. Niko na familia, nimeacha kazi, nimeresign kazi, nimekuja hapa.
The devastated traders who could not salvage anything in the pre-dawn blaze have blamed the fire department for sloppiness.
Gari, tunaletewa gari ya maji na ina maji. Hii kitu hata iko ifike huku mwisho. Ishachomeka.
Sasa kuna gari kama 20 iko hapa imesimama hapa, inatusaidia nini? Wanazima vumbi.
They now want not only compensation but are urging the president to construct a new market for them.
So sasa hii imeanguka officially. Sasa ni akuje atutengeneze hii soko. Alituahidi 300 million. Atutengeneze soko. Sasa ishachomeka.
Today's fire coming as a classical case of same script, different cast, as it comes barely a week after the same befell Toy Market. At Toy Market, traders are busy reconstructing their stalls even as they asked for enhanced security to ensure no such reoccurrence. Early in the day, Azimio leader Raila Odinga and other leaders paid the traders a visit to ascertain the extent of damage and give the traders hope.
Wakajaribu yote haya yote tukawazuia mpaka sasa. Sasa mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba hii iwe ni mara ya mwisho ambayo Toy imechomeka tena.
On the other hand, Embakasi West Member of Parliament Mark Mwenje says the fire incidents should be looked into and prevented. This as he visited Mutindo Market.
Ile kitu mimi ningetaka kuuliza, especially to the county of Nairobi, ni kwa nini kuna moto mingi kila wakati Nairobi? Hii maneno lazima tuiangalie. Na nataka kuomba MCA Soni hapa, muende msukume kule bunge, kwanza muadjourn business ile mnafanya kule kwa county assembly, muongelee hii maneno kwanza.
Vera Albeta, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, the Parliamentary Committee on Education has recommended an increase in the allocation of capitation funds for special needs children across the country. Speaking during a meeting at the Kenya Institute of Special Education, Committee Chairperson Julius Meli said the committee will present the bill in Parliament to speed up the government's action to invest more in special needs institutions. Andrin Kilemi with more.
Members of Parliament in the Education Committee are calling on the government to consider increasing capitation allocated to special schools in the country. Education Committee Chairperson Julius Meli, during a visit to the Kenya Institute of Special Education, promised that the committee would present the bill to Parliament to hasten the government's action to invest more in special needs institutions.
We as a Committee of Education have learned that this facility actually needs support from the districts or from the counties, where the national government needs to really revamp those particular facilities so that the special needs children need to be assessed at the county level. So there is need actually to develop a very strong devolved units of psycho educational centers in all our counties. And in our discussion, we realized that this requires a lot of manpower, it requires a lot of finances, and it requires a lot of reorganization. Two, we've also realized that the institute runs on a legal notice. And we as members of parliament have said we shall go to the National Assembly, develop an act of parliament that will strengthen special needs education in the Republic and make sure that the learners across the country actually are supported as per the Disability Act of the National Assembly.
The Tinderet Member of Parliament further urged the government to ensure special needs learners have whatever they need to comfortably use classrooms and other facilities within the schools.
We shall be back again to find out, to really interact more with the leadership so that we can make sure that all learners, we have what we call inclusive learning.
We are honored to have this team around and have felt the needs to support disability children in this country, and you can see the commitment from the team.
The members of parliament who attended the session at Kisii emphasized the need for Kenyans to embrace children living with disabilities. Andreen Ekilemi, TV47.
Now, ahead of the much-anticipated budget reading day Thursday, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua chaired a cabinet committee meeting to assess the progress of key developments at the ministry and inter-ministry levels in line with the Kenya Kwanza plan. What is seen as a measure to steady the ship ahead of a potential storm, the Deputy President and his cabinet ministers strategized on quick interventions to foster economic growth. Now, President William Ruto continues to campaign for the urban housing project, even as he urged professional associations like the Engineers Board to partner with government to make the urban housing venture a reality. This, even as engineers decried the high cost of construction materials, power, and intense labor costs are said to impede growth in the sector. Our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru with the story.
Speaking during the inaugural of separate functions in Naivasha, that is the Engineering Board of Kenya Convention and the Kenya Urban Forum, President William Ruto continued to champion for the urban housing projects, calling for support from stakeholders in the construction industry to support the government plan.
In this year's budget, for example, we are spending $5 billion, almost 650 billion Kenya shillings. In our education, in our training, from primary school to university. We must equally have a sound plan on how they are going to deploy the knowledge, the expertise, the skills, and the competencies they acquire in plowing back and developing our country.
Quality structures and innovation still remain a burden to the construction industry, with the collapse of high-rise constructions in the country, even as large number of urban dwellers live in the slums.
I expect the Engineers Board to flag out the people who are not living in accordance with the provision of ethics of your profession.
This challenge should be a wake-up call to innovators, especially within our country, who should seek ways to provide alternative or cheaper materials for use in the construction industry.
Our argument in the ministry is that as we bring private people to partner with us from out of the country, we will be strict to ensure that local partnership is adhered to.
The industry is, however, optimistic of good tidings on the urban housing schemes, even as they warn of high costs if the finance bill sails through.
For the low-cost housing, it will be extremely beneficial to us, but also to the whole industry, because the whole industry will ensure that we will create the jobs as well as create the vision that the president requires in order to deliver his promises. The prices should go up, if the finance bill does go through.
The president challenged the engineers to frontier the housing plan as they are the greatest beneficiaries and serve its citizens.
I was expecting the engineers of Kenya to support the finance bill. I am surprised you guys are quiet. I have not heard your voice. You are the people who are going to benefit from the housing plan. You are the people who are going to implement our superhighway. You are the people who are going to implement our universal health coverage. You are the people.